Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bankrupt Millionaire. Today we are picking up where we left off discussing the four agreements. The last episode was about not taking anything personally, and the one that we're talking about today is being impeccable with your word. And I just want to give you a heads up that I found that this resonates and holds me accountable in so many different various ways, and not just with other people but with myself. And there are going to be some other relations that I'm going to discuss, and so it might feel like I'm jumping around a little bit, so I just want to give you that heads up so that way you can stay around for the full message to let it come together and get what I'm saying. So being impeccable with your word is not just something that you do when you're speaking to others and making sure that you're speaking with integrity and things like that. It's also something that is done with ourselves, how we speak to ourselves. And it's not just what you say, it's about honesty and respectfulness and consistency. Because self-love is really just self-trust, right? And how do you create trust? When someone is impeccable with their word and they don't give you any reason to doubt them, you generally you pretty much believe people until they give you a reason not to. And if that's not the case for you, then you might know that you might have trust issues, but you can also say, I know that I have trust issues, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like, all of us have some type of thing that we're working on in some area, right? So that's not a problem. But generally, when you meet someone, you don't think the absolute worst. Otherwise, you would not deal with them. Because if you love yourself, there are certain things that you wouldn't do. And the way that you follow through with that creates trust, which means that you saying that you love yourself is an honest statement because you have the facts to prove it, right? So when we talk about being impeccable with our word, there are three things that I kind of use to measure: is this statement, is this person, is what I said about this impeccable? And impeccable is holding something to the highest standard, okay? And it's not just so we can be accountable for it, it's also so we can actually get what it is that we want and need. And I think that because, one, we have been treated a certain type of way by those who might have had a huge influence on us, such as, like, if a partner maybe used to talk to you crazy, or if your parents growing up talk to you crazy, or maybe if a friend or people have ever said anything about you, if you've ever been picked on, if words have ever been a point of pain, then it can be very difficult to it can be very difficult to have an impeccable word with yourself, because whatever is done to you is something that you're going to learn how to do, and most likely better, because whatever was done to you initially hurt, and you had to protect yourself because you love yourself. Your ego loves you more than anybody. And so your ego says, I'm going to learn how to do this better than the person that hurt me, so that way this never happens to me again. But unfortunately, when we respond in that way, we become what hurt us. And that goes for everybody, you guys. Okay? We're going to talk about some of that, like, later. Just so let's put a pin there. Spirit, give me a reminder to come back to that. Okay. I wanted to put this episode out last week, right? I wanted to put this episode out last week, but when it came time for me to record, I still had so many branches of this conversation that I did not feel that it was ready to be put out. And my son and I were going on a fishing camping trip. Okay, we were going on vacation. Now, to be clear, yes, we do live in this van, but that does not mean that we live on the side of the ocean with a beautiful view and fishing every day. Okay, like, I'm parked at the gym right now because as soon as I'm done, I'm about to go in here and work out. Like, we have a regular life. This is just where we do all our cooking and most of our things, you know? And so that means that I'm working on reestablishing the relationship with myself more than anybody else, because I mean, we're here on this show, The Bankrupt Millionaire, which means that I done messed up somewhere. And so I'm ready to try again. But this time I'm trying again, making sure that I have all the things with myself that I really want in other people down pat before I worry about anybody else. Okay. I went bankrupt, and it's not just a financial thing. I truly believe that if you're bankrupt, what is this? A fly, a net? I had some peaches in here and they started dripping and I didn't get them out. And so I came back in the van this morning. It was gnats. Anyways, totally unrelated. What was I saying? Got distracted. Give me a moment. It'll come back. Okay. So I'm working on building the relationship with myself and having these 4 agreements with myself, right? And so when I said I was going on vacation, I went on vacation. I did not pick up my laptop. Now, ideally, I would like this show to come out every Monday, right? And I would like a vlog to come out every Sunday, a van vlog to come out every Sunday. That's what I would like, ideally. But realistically, if I'm the person that's doing the shooting and doing the editing and doing the thinking, right? For production and editing and shooting, and I'm the actual person that's living these experiences, I had to realize that I can only do what I can do. And so I can make a goal and I can try, but realistically, if I don't want to burn myself out, if I'm still making time for the things that I need to do, if I'm making sure that I'm present, because I also have a thing where we do the activity in real life, no cameras, and then we go do it a second day. And sometimes that's how I get the footage. Like, so if I made pancakes with Trey, we made them pancakes a day before, just regular. And then I asked him, hey, do you mind if I get a video of this for what's it called? So all of that together takes time. And so what I'm understanding now that I have cleared all of my plate of responsibility is that if I feel rushed or late to anything at this point, it is completely on me because I don't owe anyone anything at this time. I have let go of all projects I was working on. I went bankrupt, foreclosed the house. I'm not going to say no responsibilities, but I think that's the thing. I don't think anyone realizes, as big as everything that I've ever grown, it didn't feel like wins. It felt like things I had to do so I can be creative. Like, even right now, technically, I'm not working. Like, I'm not getting paid. Well, when y'all watch on YouTube, I get paid. But I'm not, like, getting paid right now. And I'm living on a budget so I can explore this as long as I can, because I went from millionaire to bankrupt. We need to sit with that for a moment, and I need to figure out exactly where I went wrong, because it wasn't any overt mistakes. It was me not knowing what was best for me. And that means that at certain points, I was honoring certain agreements with others more than myself. Okay? And that means that I have to go back to each of these. And so when it comes to being impeccable with my word, I've realized that my expectations were way too high for me to also not abandon myself in other areas. And if I don't want to wound the trust that I have in myself and with myself, my self-trust, then I have to be honest. Even if it's not as high as a goal, I want to be as impeccable with my word as I can. Which means that last week, the goal was to get it out by Monday, but that goal to get it out by Monday is ideally, in best case scenarios and when the opportunity is available, is how often I like to put it out. But ultimately, it was because I felt like I was letting someone down. But I remembered I was going to record these 4 expectations before I shared with you all what you can expect from me, because this is what you can expect from me. And me being impeccable with my word means that if I don't have it together and I'm not willing to sacrifice the way in which I do things to protect the relationship with my son before I use it for content, then I can't do it. And that is the honest truth, which means that now takes precedent over what the goal or intention was. Yes, I should be as prepared as I can be and sit down and show up. It's like the gym. I tell people all the time when they are like, I don't know how to get in the habit of going to the gym. I get tired. I roll over. I don't go. I say, okay, well, meet me here. Get dressed and go. If you get to the gym and you don't want to work out, then don't work out. But the odds are, by the time that you got dressed, by the time that you put on some music and got lit, by the time you got a little caffeine in you, or by the time you know you spent that gas and all the things, sometimes you're like, you know what, fine, I'll do 5 minutes. Because we have to get in the habit to doing it as best as we can, as close as we can, even if it's a tiny little bit. And so last week, I knew I was not ready to record, but I did my notes and I sat down. I tried. It was not what it needed to be. And I was like, okay. So I took the week off because I was at vacation, right? Which meant that, yes, I tried to sit down and record yesterday so it could come out, but also I had technically only been back for 2 or 3 days. I had to clean the van because we was fishing. I mean, everything needed to be cleaned, right? I needed groceries because we had ate everything while we were there. I had to take Trey to his father for Father's Day. Like, there were things that I had to do, and recording content was not the first thing. So by the time I sat down yesterday, I was under a lot of pressure, and I was like, you know what? I have to, one of them next. I have to get this done today because I need to put this out today. Da 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 da. I recorded it twice. I could not get all of it together without going past the time, and it didn't string back together. I was not satisfied with it, and it was difficult. I was a little distracted by that, but I said, you know what? I did work today. I sat down and did everything that I could do. All right. So then I sat down today and I said, okay, I'm going to arrive to the gym a little bit early. That way I can record. And even if it goes a little over, I'll already be here. It just, whatever. And this morning, there were some things that I needed to handle. Some were some financial responsibility things that came up, some sibling stuff that came up. Then I had to deal with like conversations with people that I'm not on the best terms with. Like, it was just a lot going on. And I was sitting down ready, but then all this was distracted. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have to say a prayer real quick because I have to be impeccable to my word. I told myself that I was going to sit down and do my best. And being impeccable with your word is also being about being able to label what it is that you feel and not feeling any shame about it. I was feeling some negativity because I was, around all these conversations that had no good coming from them, like sibling stuff, and they got stuff going on, and I'm the big sister. I'm trying to help, but it's hard because our 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 parents ingrained certain things in us that we have never worked out until we all got adults. I have my issues. They have their, like, it's a lot, you know what I'm saying? And financially, I can't show up in any way, nor would I anymore. So it's like I'm trying to show up emotionally. I know that I really put walls up with my, like, just certain expectations, right? Then you have some financial stuff that came up that I was not expecting. And it's like, okay, I need to call this bill service because I filed bankruptcy. They not supposed to be charging me no more. I can't be getting unexpected charges on my account right now because the bank account I have, they can close. Like, when you do bankruptcy, like, we'll talk about all the things that happen with bankruptcy, if it's worth the pros and cons, things like that, on another episode at some point. But of course, that took me there because finally, for the first time in a month, I haven't had an overdraft fee. My account has been overdraft for over the last 15 months, every single month. And we'll talk about that at a later time, like when we get into the physical details of the bankruptcy. I'm going to lay it all out for you guys because I'm going to lay it out. But I say that to say, of course, that took some of my attention away, amongst other things, right? And then having to communicate with someone about some business stuff that someone I don't deal with anymore. Now I have to make sure, okay, when I speak, I make sure that I'm not saying anything that could be perceived any type of way, despite if they do the same for me and all these different things. And my mind's going left, right? And I had to be honest about the things that I were feeling in my prayer, not only to God and the universe, spirit, ancestors, the good ones that have my best interests at heart, but also talking to my higher self and saying, self, I literally said to myself, I said, self, you said you were going to do this. You matter more. Those things do matter, and they can be important to you. But if you want to show up in those situations and really be that way without any resentment or being upset, then you have to do this right now for you. You have to set your feelings aside. Yes, it hurts that these are people that you don't deal with anymore. Yes, it hurts that you can't solve the issues for your siblings. There are a lot of things that hurts. Yes, you just finally got your bank account scared away. But I promise you, you need to do this for you so that way you can show up for those other things later today. Yes, those other things are showing up for yourself too, but not entirely. Those are things that you share with finances in the bank. Those other relationships, that's something that you share familiar. Those are things outside of you. But this word that you said that you were going to do your best today, you have to do your best or you're not going to accept if it doesn't work out. You have to show up right now. So I need you to put all of that to the side because you matter more right now. Not that that doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter more than what you promised yourself. And you have a full day ahead of you. None of them can do any of the other things on your to-do list for you. So don't mess up your day. Give yourself this time. Give some space, and you can respond to all of them in the best ways at your highest potential as soon as you're done showing up for you. So let's try our best and do this recording. I know you're not sure what to say, but as higher self, please show up for me right now. You can read the intentions on my heart. Help it make sense. I would like to get this done today. And then go in there and fuck up this leg day. I love you. Let's do this. I turned on the camera. I did not take any notes this time. I have notes about the topic, but these are from the ones where I said I re-recorded them. But today, nothing. Because I can't control everything. I can do the studying, but I always have to be impeccable with my word. I have to tell the truth. If the truth is, I don't like this is not a perfectionism thing. I don't think I finished. I'm not okay with it, but I also have engagements with my child. Then my truth is that I did my best. I have prior engagements. I have to come back to this next week. I can't release it this Monday. And just like I let myself off of the hook or give myself that grace, I also have to hold myself responsible when a distraction comes up that's outside of me and outside of the agreement that I made with myself. It has to wait. So when I'm talking about being impeccable with your word, we're talking about honesty. The three things that I now measure impeccable word with are, is it honest? Is it respectful? And is it consistent? That is not only with myself, but with others, with contracts. So, for example, a lot of people struggle with these things because they might not be as efficient in one area than another. Some people want to be honest, but don't want to be respectful. You can't do that because now you're degrading someone or saying something to them in a judgmental way. Like, you can tell someone the truth of how something can affect you without being disrespectful about it. But a lot of us don't have the vocabulary to that because, again, going back to what I said in the beginning, a lot of us have learned everything about ourselves from people that did not treat us how we truly deserve to be treated. Not because they intentionally wanted to fuck you up, but they are only doing the best that they have. And at the end of the day, each level gets better. So where you are better than anybody that came before you because it's like MJ. I hate when people compare the greats with people that are out now. The people that are out now technically on paper could be better, but only because they had the foundation. Your floor is your parents' ceiling. The way that they talk to you is the worst that you will ever speak. Because of how they talk to you will encourage how you either learn to say, no, my parents used to do this for me. And then now you have more time to plan and more inspiration. So you do it even better for your child, right? Your parents might have left you with 40 acres, but because they left with that 40 acres, you was able to do something and you made it, you bought another 80 acres. Like, it's because of everybody before you ceiling is now your floor. And so, yes, they could have done better, but also we have to understand people can only do what they can do. Okay? And so a lot of us don't have the vocabulary to talk nicer to other people. And I'm not judging, because odds are you're talking just that mean to yourself. You don't have the extra patience to give other people, because maybe in private, you're not really being that patient with yourself. So I require, for it to be impeccable word, you have to be honest, you have to be respectful, and you got to be consistent. And I realized that in my last situation, last career move, the reason that some of those things didn't work and I had issues is because I was not requiring other people to be impeccable with their word, not only to me, but to themselves. So like, yes, if someone's talking to me, I demand respect. But the thing I wasn't looking at is when they talk to themselves, are they being respectful? When people talk about them, are those people being respectful about it? Because it's all interconnected. It's all connected. If I speak to someone and they're speaking to me politely, that's beautiful, but that's not a qualifier. Because there are so many people that are raised on being polite, raised on manners, raised on a certain way to do things, Southern hospitality, all types of things. Like, let's be clear, like my husband used to never let me touch a door, but also when we divorced, he was very clear, I'm just not in love with you. That is not, someone respecting you is not an indicator that they agree or like you. It is just the baseline. No matter how you feel, be honest about it. We don't have to be disrespectful about it, which means we cannot take someone being respectful as an indicator that they like us, or that they agree, or that you might have done something wrong. They're just respecting you because that's the baseline. So when someone would respect me in conversation, I would give them 2 points in my head, which really it just means you can still stay. It doesn't mean that you get extra points for being respectful when that is the baseline. I started realizing that person might be being respectful to me, but when I listen to how they speak to other people, or how other people are allowed to speak to them, I realize they might be respecting me because I require it. But if I truly don't want to have to hold the responsibility of anyone else, I need to make sure that they're holding that responsibility in their own life. I used to have a bad habit of sticking up for people. I would stick up for people that wouldn't stick up for themselves. And then when I decide to step away from some of those contracts or relationships, then they would get big with me. And it's like, how are you able to get big with me, but you weren't able to get big with this person that was blatantly mistreating you? I am coming to you and saying, hey, this isn't working for me for XYZ, and I would like to step away from this contract because it no longer serves me. Unfortunately, how you handled this is not how I would have handled this. It makes me uncomfortable and I don't want to be in this. Just for example. Now, the person they was working with before me didn't pay them, tried to get out of this, didn't try to get out of that. This client that hung up on you, cursing you out via text because of their own miscommunications, you letting your other homegirl curse you out. And I'm telling you, hey, that's not cool. You deserve respect. But yet, when I do something that requires respect, they don't have it to give. Why? Because from the jump, they were not consistent with being impeccable with their word. Again, the 3 factors that I'm using are, is it honest? Is it respectful? And is it consistent? And that consistent one was really tripping me up, because is it consistent as in when someone comes into an interview and they're like, oh, I did this and this is how I feel and this is the work that I've done, da, 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 da. Then you go check their credentials. Does it match up? You say that you love doing things for the community. Where are the things where you did these things for the community, that you did them for free? Does it match up to the way that you just talked about yourself? And then the people that you worked with on those projects, let me call them and see, did you really enjoy it? Did you really enjoy it? Are they going to say, nah, they kept calling out, da, da, da. I need to see, are you impeccable with your word down to the max? What about the person that I run into that knows you? What do they say about you? Is it consistent? And is it consistent with the person that you're showing me that you are? Is everybody saying like, no, that person has a heart, like, or even if y'all not even on good terms, no, that person has a good heart. That person has a good heart. One thing that I really pride myself on is that I don't have an ex that I'm on bad terms with. I don't have a friendship that I'm on bad terms with, because I don't curse people out and just leave them on nothing. Like, I don't do things just like, I don't know. I lost a part of my marriage like that. My part being accountable in my marriage was acknowledging that how I was talking to him was crazy. I lost a part of my home for that. Now, I wouldn't change anything, because at the end of the day, that marriage was put in my life because he was the first honest person to tell me that how I was talking was not okay. He didn't come from that type of household. I was much nicer, in my opinion, than my mother talked to me. And it wasn't until we got into an argument that he was like, you talking to me crazy. And I'm like, well, you did this. And he was like, well, okay, I did that. And we could talk about that. But how you talking to me about how I did it is not okay. And I was like, but my mom used to say, and then boom, whole can of worms open. I used to talk to people crazy. I am an Aries woman, okay? I used to talk to people so crazy. And I would use honesty to be hurtful, to disarm people. And that's not okay. And so when people hear me talk today, and I'm so specific with my words, and I'm so strict about these boundaries about like, hey, I'm not going to do this, it's because I don't ever want to put myself in a situation like that again. I lost a marriage like that. I didn't lose shit else like that. That was a lesson that I had to learn one time, but also because someone told me the truth. And in that same example, when it was time when my husband came to me and said he didn't want to do this anymore, he had tried before to like say he wasn't happy. We had talked about it before, but it was always in disrespectful ways. Like, you do this and da da da. Like, we never got anywhere. It was never a conversation. And mind you, I was 22 when I got married. That's a whole nother story. Go listen to Not Just Another Sex Podcast. Anyways, when he really sat down with me, he said, hey, I want to talk to you about something. I am not happy in this, and I don't want to do this anymore. I said, okay. I said, do you think that we've done everything that we can to really fix this and make it work? Because we both came from households that had never divorced. So that another reason that we never really addressed this mistake, because we didn't believe in that. We thought, again, all old things that you realize are not true. And sometimes some of the values, quote unquote values, make sure you're watching this on YouTube so you can see quotes, are not in the in the best interest of our highest self and our most happiest self. And he said, no. He said, you're right. Because I had been telling him that you won't read the 5 love languages. That's why we about to get a divorce, like thinking all these things. And he said, you're right. I haven't done all the things. He's like, but I finally realized it's because I don't want to. So every time I try to, I just have no interest in doing it because this is not what I want. And it was so honest and so respectful. I thanked him. I said, thank you for sharing that with me. I really do appreciate it. And I gave him a hug, and then we started the process. It was the most simplest breakup that I've ever had in my life. But I realized the reason that it was so difficult before is because he did not have the capacity to tell me the truth, that I just don't love you. I made a mistake. And it's not about the details about you. It's not like you just cursed me out and I didn't like that. When you're with the right person, love will always be a mirror, and you will always have a choice to change. If that love is the love for you, they will love you as you are. The truth is that we did not love each other. I mean, we got married in less than a year. That's not either of our faults. That's just a mistake. And we made a permanent decision in a temporary situation, not realizing it. And with that being said, I would hold people to honesty and being respectful. But the thing is that my truth was that I did not feel like he was in love. And every time I asked him, because he would tell me, yes, I am. I don't know what you're talking about. You're tripping. Like, you're making this a thing, and this is what's making me have difficulty in the relationship. I would believe him because he told me he was being honest. But being impeccable with my own word is being honest with how I feel. Whether how I feel is because of my own insecurities or not, I should always respect how I feel, because without having impeccable word with myself, I can never be honest. And if I can't be honest, then I can't truly deal with the situation. A lot of people don't want to admit when they feel things that they don't align with. I know some people I used to be a jealous person. But because I never acknowledged it, because I thought jealousy was so bad, I never did anything about it. And then I found myself like resenting other people and feeling even worse about myself. When I finally admitted that I was jealous about certain things, it gave me answers. I had a homegirl that I was jealous of because I realized that my husband gave her more attention than he had ever given me. What did that tell me? Not that I was jealous of her, but acknowledging that thing showed me that it never was her. It was always rooted in the fact that I was married to someone that was not for me. And he wasn't even being disrespectful. He was never, and that's another thing. That's another thing why it was very difficult to get a divorce. Our relationship looked fine. We were having sex consistently, like not to get into too much things, but there were no red flags. Like he ain't beat me. He told me, hey, don't talk to me like this no more. I went to therapy. I fixed it. Like it was very, like it looked fine, which is why I think both of us struggled so much to actually leave it. Because no one tells you that your happiness is supposed to matter. You have to acknowledge your truth before you acknowledge anyone else's, because you don't live in those bodies. You live in this body. So even if the truth is something that you don't like, if your truth is, my truth was for a long time, I don't want to follow these fitness instructors because looking at them don't make me feel good about myself. They're on only, but because I acknowledge that, I realize I'm not jealous. I just can't relate. And maybe I need to be looking at following more people that are not on level 10, but also are at a level 1. Why am I following them? If I'm looking for inspiration, then that might not be a page to follow because I've never wanted to be a bodybuilder. So why am I following all these bodybuilders? And then I was looking for community, but I thought community meant it had to be somebody that was on a better level than me, when really it can be someone right there on the same level. Like, these are just random examples. That's all I got, y'all. Like I said, I'm just trying to share that how you feel is okay, as long as you're being honest about it, respectful and consistent. Which means certain things that I started looking for in other people. How do you talk to me around other people? If other people are telling me that you're saying great things about me, but you never say it to me, I don't go for that anymore. It's not consistent. And I realize that I want consistency. If you always have great things to say about me to other people, but I do not feel that love, or if I feel underappreciated often, then at what point do we acknowledge that sometimes saying good things about someone to someone else is manipulative? So that way all the evidence points to, of course I support you, of course I this, but if you don't actually tell me, what you tell other people doesn't fill my cup. And I understand some people don't talk, but when some people don't talk, it's consistent. If you don't talk, then why are you telling that to people? If you don't have the words, then why are you telling all these other people like, no, this person is amazing, da, 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 da. But when it comes to me, you curse me out behind closed doors. Those compliments do nothing for me. Speaking about me highly, but not to me, that is not consistent. I believe that in partnership, I remember even in my marriage before, he was like, oh, I don't like social media. I don't like posting those things, da, 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 da. I mostly like posting funny stuff. I said, okay, and I accepted that. When he got remarried, which of course he definitely married like the love of his life. They're so good together. She is a great bonus mom. He started posting his girl right then and there. And so my thing is that when there's not a consistency, sometimes we don't want to be honest about it, because inconsistencies sometimes reveal an honesty that has not come out yet. And so I think that's why all of them matter. Honest, respectful, and consistent. You know, and a lot of people have not been allowed to be honest, because like even when we would get in trouble, we were little, you would get in trouble and then your mom would be like, oh, fix your face. Well, y'all know I grew up in a different home, but a lot of people went through that. Fix your face. You weren't even allowed to be upset then. You weren't allowed to laugh while you were sick. You were never allowed to have duality. And I believe duality does exist as long as it's honest and respectful and consistent. which also means telling our partners or talking to people and using always and never are not, that's not impeccable. That's not true. If someone always does something and you're still there, then you have to ask yourself, does it truly matter to you if you always are being let down by this thing that you say matters? You're not being impeccable with your word. And if they're not, if I think y'all get what I'm saying, okay? The other thing about being impeccable with your word is it's usually the solution to all of your problems. And I say that to say, when we are not honest, we are encouraging. And that's just the truth. And as a mom, I've struggled with really understanding when is the right time to be honest, how to be encouraging without X, Y, and Z. Like, for example, my son is very confident. He will learn how to do something like even going backwards. He's like, as soon as he was able to even just move backwards, he started telling people I know how to skate backwards. He couldn't stay upright. He couldn't do a lot of things, like literally skate backwards, right? He also told Devin them husband that he could swim. And then when he threw him out in the ocean and he saw him fluttering, he was like, I thought you said you could swim. He's like, well, I took swimming classes. I can swim with an instructor if they hold me, like, you know? And so it's like, even correcting him, I struggle with not wanting to discourage him, but also not letting, not technically, truthfully, could he skate backwards? Yes. Could he skate backwards? Well, no. Like, learning when is the right time. So it's a balance, right? But I say that honesty cures most things, because a lot of people, when faced with the truth, the solution will come out of that. When my ex-husband sat down with me, he was so honest and respectful that my response would only show a reflection of me. He did everything he could do. The only thing that he could have changed in that point was to lie and say, I do want to do this. You're stringing it along. It's continuing, right? What I've learned is that honesty will deter people. It will stop things from happening. And I found this out a long time ago. And every single time I've spoken up for myself, I've found this to be true. It does something. Because even with my ex-husband, when I finally went to therapy and learned how to communicate, not scream, I would tell him, hey, this happened, and this makes me feel this way, and it makes me not understand how a person that loves someone would do this. Or you said that this was not, I started being able to communicate, which ended up pulling to a head when he let me go. And he said, honestly, there's nothing for you to fix anymore because you went to therapy and you did fix all those things. And I am proud of you. He's like, but there's not nothing you can fix because I don't want to be in this. That was the most honest and freeing thing to me. And ever since, I have taken that same honesty in every situation. My ex-husband united that if nothing else, he united my ability to be honest, because I used to be honest and it would not be okay. And the very first time that I realized this, and this is a hard trigger warning, I'm going to give you 3 seconds. When my father used to climb in my bed, he had this thing where he would ask, am I a good dad? And I would say yes every time. One, I don't want to get my ass beat. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, you're just trying to be complacent. I'm frozen still. I kept saying yes. And when I was so tired, because he would come in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep. I was just so sleepy. I was so tired of it. I had made a plan in my head and I said, next time he asks me that, when he's doing those things, I'm going to say no. And when he asked again, that next time, he said, am I a good dad? While he's in my bed and touching me inappropriately, I said no. He stopped immediately. He never touched me again after that day. That was the very last time that he touched me. And in that moment, he manipulated the situation. He said, well, I don't want you to ever think this is what I want from you, or this means love. I don't need this, and I want to be a good dad. And the switch immediately went off. He knew it was wrong. Even if he couldn't help his urges, even if he succumbed to them, he was aware that I was aware that it was wrong. And at that point, he stopped. And what I have found is that when you confront people with the truth, and this is another reason that I did the no complaining challenge, and I will come back to that and we'll do an episode about it. I have to get through these expectations. Through the 4 agreements. But I did a no complaining challenge. Like, if you've ever fasted from food, that is to bring awareness to physical distractions and stop them. I realized that, okay, that puts a lot of accountability on all things outside of me. How do I fast from the internal distractions? And so I went on a 3-day no complaining challenge, and it revealed so much to me about what is complaining. Like, we might say complaining, but we're talking about anything that's on that level. So giving excuses, repeating yourself without actually making any action to make change. I realized that complaining is all of those things, and that is not being impeccable with your word. If you complain about something but don't change it, and you keep talking about it, you're not being impeccable with your word. Now you're saying negative things, but you're not actually doing anything to change anything about it. Therefore, you just keep saying, I'm unhappy. But if you were unhappy, wouldn't you make a change? And it's not saying that you can't vent about things. It's just saying, being impeccable with your word. When you're impeccable with your word, you make sure that your slate is clean, and you can actually see someone's true response because you know that your word was at its highest standard. Your word was at its highest standard. Therefore, your conscience is clear. Your self-love is high because your self-trust is high. And because your self-trust is high, because you know that you were impeccable, that you shared that, hey, you had me fucked up, but you did not go off or any of those things. You did not curse them out. You said, hey, I'm going to stand up for myself because I'm allowed to be honest about that. And I don't need to be disrespectful about it. Now, that's a process. I done had a crash out of 100 since the last time this really became a problem. But the point is that when you know something's a problem, you start apologizing. That's being impeccable with your word, admitting that you're wrong, being accountable. And also, it's to help you get the help that you need. Y'all, I didn't know what I was going to talk about today. When I'm done with this and I'm done squatting that ass in this gym, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to upload this because it needs no edits, because I was honest about the distractions that were around me and I asked for help. But if I had just said, Spirit, Lord, help me do my recording, nothing would have happened because I had already had the help. I had already had the research. The truth is that I was distracted, and what I needed help with was the distractions. But when you don't want to even give any energy or acknowledgement that, hey, that this bothers me, you can't even be honest about the type of help that you need, because you always want to be seen as the best. And that's not impeccable, because, bitch, that's a lie. None of us are always at our best. All right. I'm going to look at my notes and see if there's anything else that I need to say. Otherwise, we could about wrap this up. It's a little longer than I want it to be. Okay. So the rest of my notes, I was talking about being consistent, how you speak to me, how you speak to others, how the people that you allow around you do you require them to be impeccable with their word? And also, how do others talk about you? If you say that you X, Y, and Z, and people are like, I had a terrible if everybody had a terrible experience with you, like, does that go against what you tell them? Like, I need consistency, right? When people are blackballed, believe them. Go figure out why before you got to hear all the sides. You need to hear all the sides and find out, is it consistent? Do I trust you? Do I believe you? Do the actions match the complaints and vents? Do people admit when they feel things that are negative, or do they only feel good things? Because when people repress how they feel, that's when people are passive aggressive. That's why passive aggressiveness is like, what is it that you need to say? Because if you're being passive aggressive to me, there is something that you did not say you're sitting on. It's making you resentful because you're holding me accountable for something that you did not actually share with me yet. That is not fair. That is you requiring me to read your mind. No, I don't take anything personal. So, if you haven't heard that one, go back and listen to the first one before this. So when people are passive aggressive, are you clocking it? What they say? What the kids do? Clock it. Are you clocking it? Are you clocking when someone is being passive aggressive with you? Because if you know they're being passive aggressive with you, you should at least be impeccable with your word to say, no, I want people to speak to me honest, respectfully. And it should be consistent. When people being passive aggressive, it's called passive because they ain't consistently mean to you. But when they do say something every now and then, it's a little shady. You gonna either be consistently nice to me or you not. So, how you disagree, how you compliment me. I don't want. It need to all be consistent. Also, stop saying yes when you don't know. Just like I said, stop saying like, oh, this is gonna come out every week if you're not really sure. Like, make sure that it's realistic. You know what I'm saying? But stop saying yes when you don't know, and understand that you don't have to respond to anything immediately. Like, if you need a moment, and I honestly highly suggest you do this. I started doing this. When someone asks me something, I say, I love that idea. Let me check in with myself and the things I have to do, and let me get back with you tomorrow. Or letting them know like, oh, I love that. Give me like 48 hours and then I'll follow up with you. Like, I understand we don't want to hurt people's feelings, but again, coming back to honest, but also respectful. Because if you don't know, you don't know. You don't know is an answer. And if you're not allowed to not know around someone, then maybe they don't want you to be impeccable with their word. Maybe they want you to be dishonest so they can feel validated in that moment to their own benefit. Okay? Now, if you tell people, and this is another thing, I know that there are a lot of people in relationships and there's usually one person that might need time and the other person that wants to fix it right then and there. And that's in romantic, platonic, business, whatever relationships. Give people a moment. If you cannot give people a moment, that means that you really want to control them and you want to have the conversation whether they're being honest or not. Because if they're not ready, you have to believe them. Now, the person that says, hey, I need a moment, be impeccable with your word and follow up. A lot of people do not trust when people say, hey, give me a couple days to think about it and let me hit you back, because they never hit you back. Both things can be true. So let's both be impeccable with our word and allow people to be impeccable with their word with us. If someone is being impeccable and honest with you and giving you the highest form of vulnerability and accountability and they need a moment, believe them. If they don't know, believe them. Now, yes, have a standard. If you said you were going to hit me back up about this, and you could say, hey, okay, do you need 3 to 5 days? Do you need 3 hours? Like, can you give me some type of range so I can have an understanding? If they say, oh, I need 3 months and it's not no business deal, somebody just ain't being accountable, they need 3 months, you might say, okay, well, in that time, like, I don't want, well, let's just pause everything at this moment. Like, everybody is allowed to say what their truth is, as long as everyone is respectful and it's fair. If someone says, hey, well, I don't know, I don't know if I want to do this deal, I need a few weeks to think about it. You might say, okay, well, I don't want to do any exchanges until you respond back. That way we're not both exerting energy during this time, or I'm not feeling uneasy. I can feel easy while you take all the time that you need, whatever. Like, you're allowed to think about yourself. And I dare you to make time to do it. And it will help you be more impeccable with your word. Responding immediately is sometimes when we start responding with emotions. And that's not just in a negative. I'm talking about when somebody that you know has done something for you and they always show up for you. When they ask you something, sometimes the first thing out of our mouth is yes, when you might not have even taken any time for yourself. It sucks, especially when somebody always shows up for you and you rarely ever get an opportunity to show it for them. When they do ask you for something, you almost feel more pressure to say yes. So just take a moment, because you're not required to do anything but be honest and respectful and consistent. Okay? And honestly, you ain't even required to do that. You're required to do the 4 agreements. At least if you talking to me, if you're trying to develop some decent relationships, I don't know about no expectations, but whatever I do or decide, it will be backed up by the 4 agreements. Okay, so make sure that you go back and check out Don't Take Things Personal if this is your first one. If you would please go and watch this on YouTube or go and watch another video. My YouTube is monetized. I'm not working right now, but this is just something that I wanted to share. And you can follow this page, The Bankrupt Millionaire, and if you want to check out my project before this, it was called Not Just Another Sex Podcast. That's where I go into detail about how the ways that I was brought up affected me, and I share my story. And that is still out there available. They share the same audio feed, but it has its own playlist on my YouTube. And if you would like to know more about the van, you can watch the tour below or check out the Charlie Van Cafe on Instagram. I love you guys, and if these are helping, please find a way to let me know. I read all of your DMs. Oh, that's a sign that it's time for me to go. Bye.